Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. This week's portion is out of Korach. And here we have one of the very curious episodes. Korach, as it tells us, with his great Yichus, son of Yitzhar, he was the grandson of Kahas. He was a great-grandson of Levi. Korach was an amazing human being, a great sage, a tzaddik, someone who was known as, Rashi tells us, a pikeach. He was shrewd, he was smart. Korach came from the most prestigious of tribes, that of Levi. He came from the family of Levi. Levi had three sons, Gershon, Kahas, and Merari. And he came from the family of Kahas, the most outstanding. And he came from the son of Kahas, who was Yitzhar. Korach, he was an aristocrat. He was chosen not just to help in the service in the temple. Korach was chosen to be one of those who would actually carry the Ark of the Covenant when Klal Yisrael was traveling in the desert. The holy sacred covenant, it rested on the shoulders of Korach. This is because Korach was no ordinary person. And yet we find that Korach, with others, he comes and he leads a group in which they challenge Moshe Rabbeinu. And they say to Moshe, this of which you appointed your brother Aharon to be Kohen Gadol and perform all of the sacred service in the temple, this is something which is inappropriate, because after all, Kol ha'eda, the entire congregation of Klal Yisrael, kulam kadoshim, they're all holy. Uvesoichem Hashem, God dwells amongst each and every one of us. Umadua tisnasu al kahal Hashem, why have you put yourselves in positions of such leadership over the congregation of God? Korach was saying, Klal Yisrael, these are individuals who are living in a spiritual plane. They eat food that falls from the heaven. They drink water that comes from a rock. We're living in an environment surrounded by God's clouds of glory. We spend all day studying the divine word. Moshe Rabbeinu, these are people who are so sacred. Why would you limit the opportunity to perform the divine service, bringing offerings on the altar of sacrifice, bringing incense offerings? Why would you limit this to your brother and his family, the Kahanim? All of Klal Yisrael are worthy of having this spiritual sensation, this experience, the feeling. Why would you deny us? Korach challenged Moshe, and it was taken very seriously. And this is because Korach was considered by many to be of such great stature that indeed he could challenge Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe tells Korach that indeed, if this is what you desire, then bring an incense offering and we'll see what happens. Aaron brought the incense offering, was accepted by Hashem. Korach and those in league with him, the earth opened up beneath them, and it opened its mouth, swallowing them alive. And then the earth closed its mouth. It wasn't an earthquake, because with an earthquake, the earth might separate, and then it doesn't come back together as it was initially. Here, it's like when one opens their mouth and closes it. After it's been closed, you never know it was opened. This was an incredible miracle, and our sages asked, Korach, who was such a holy, wise, righteous man, how is it possible that he should engage in such foolishness, such stupidity, to challenge Moshe Rabbeinu? Korach, do you know why we have a temple, a tabernacle? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was on Sinai 40 days and 40 nights, and God delivered to him his divine word, and he taught us how to construct and build and have the right thoughts for the proper sanctity of this magnificent edifice, the house of God's divine presence. Korach, you say that all of Klal Yisrael is holy. We're eating the man that falls from heaven. Are you not aware that this is in the merit of Moshe? Korach, did you not just witness the miracles that took place 1 year ago that happened in the Exodus of Egypt? And it was Moshe, the prophet of God, who told us and he told everyone of the various plagues that shall transpire. Did you not witness the splitting of the sea as the Egyptians were about to attack us? Did you not see what happened to Miriam, who lovingly, from the bottom of her heart, spoke a few words of criticism about Moshe? Did you not see that she was afflicted with the tsaras? And Korach, didn't you just see what happened to the spies who came and defied the words of Moshe Rabbeinu? What happened to them and the decree? How is it that you should be filled with such foolishness that you should come and challenge Moshe Rabbeinu, the prophet of God? In the 13 principles of our faith, it tells us that there is no greater prophet than Moshe Rabbeinu. He is the father of all prophets, those who preceded him, those who followed him, meaning that Moshe's prophecy, as it says at the end of Parshas Bahaloischa, Moshe's prophecy was on a whole different level, a whole different plane. What he perceived was with such a clarity, so lucid. His knowledge of the divine was greater than any other human being. In Korach, you're coming to challenge Moshe Rabbeinu? How could a person be so silly? Our sages say that if we look at the yichus that the Torah presents, it says Korach, the son of Yitzhar, the grandson of Kohath, the great-grandson of Levi. But it doesn't mention Yaakov. Why doesn't it say, and Levi was the son of Yaakov? Rashi tells us that Yaakov requested before God that his name should not be associated here with this act of Korach. And this way, no one would come to think that Yaakov was a party to this. How do we understand this? Yaakov was 3 or 4 generations early. If someone has a great-great-great-grandchild who does something, we're going to attribute it back 3, 4 generations? What is the meaning of this? How do we understand this? Indeed, our sages tell us that what motivated Korach was envy. Korach was from Yitzhar. Yitzhar was the second of the sons of Kohath. Kohath had Amram and then Yitzhar. Amram's 2 sons, Moshe and Aaron. Moshe is the leader, Aaron is the Kohen Gadol. Now the next honor is to be the head of the tribe of Levi. That should go to Yitzhar. And who is Yitzhar's son? Korach. And it wasn't given to him. It was given to someone else. And this caused the element of envy within Korach. Korach was envious. Many of us were all subject to envy. We see what someone else might have. We all feel a little bit of envy. That doesn't necessarily lead us down a path in which we're going to deny the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is basically challenging the fundamental foundation of Judaism. If we say that Moshe's prophecy was incorrect, Moshe was making decisions on his own, then there's no Torah, there's no Judaism, there's nothing. We're denying history. The Bnei Yissaschar tells us, as we know, in Ethics of Our Fathers, one of the 3 things that can take a person out of this world, that means it can destroy their lives, is envy. Everybody is subject to envy. What does it mean? It means that envy is one of the cardinal sins that, if left unbridled, if it's not controlled, it could lead to a person's destruction. And that's what happened with Korach. The envy became so powerful that it took control of Korach. How? And this is because Korach became blind and was not able to see the simplest of truths. A person who is so consumed with their own honor or the pursuit of their desires, or in this case, envy, it can cause them that they don't understand the simplest facts and the simplest truths that are evident to one and to all. Korach, the envy was so strong that in his mind, Korach, when he challenged Moshe, was doing a mitzvah. Moshe, you think I'm coming here on behalf of myself? I'm coming here with 250 men. I'm coming here, all of Klal Yisrael. It says that the night prior to Korach bringing the incense offering, he gathered all of Klal Yisrael. How did he do this? Our commentaries say he went to Klal Yisrael and said, I'm not doing this for me. I have great glory. I carry the Ark of the Covenant. Korach was perhaps the wealthiest man amongst Klal Yisrael. I don't need this. I'm doing it for you because you're holy. You're sacred. God is with you. You need to experience what it means to serve God in his temple by the altar of sacrifice. We all need to have this. It shouldn't be limited to just a few. This is a wonder. Every Jew should want to be holier and holier, to engage in more and more in-depth spiritual pursuit. And Korach believed that what he was doing was a mitzvah. And therefore, every response that Moshe Rabbeinu said, Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to him. He said, Rav Lechem b'nei Levi, he said, Korach, think what you're doing. You're coming and you're denying the prophecy. You witnessed, you were at Sinai. You saw how I was on Sinai 40 days and 40 nights. You heard how God delivered us the 10 commandments. You saw my role. Korach, get hold of yourself. Think, what are you doing? What are you saying? But when a person becomes obsessed and they think, Moshe, that's a very, very nice, but I'm doing a mitzvah. What I'm doing God's work. And with that, all reason and rationale falls aside. Korach became blind to the truth because he was consumed by envy that led him to believe that what he was doing was a mitzvah. And because Korach thought it was a mitzvah, there was no alternative other than demonstrating a miracle in which he was swallowed up by the earth. There were no words that could be used to dissuade Korach from his thoughts of the pursuit of this mitzvah. How does a person know if what we're doing is truly a mitzvah? Maybe we think that, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to engage in it. This is a mitzvah, this is nice. How do we know if it's really a mitzvah or not? This is the meaning when Yaakov said that he asked God, do not allow my name to be associated. For as we say, Tite nemes Yaakov, Yaakov personified the perfection of the pursuit of truth. That which was true. That's why the great test of Yaakov was that the man of truth had to live with Lavan, the man of deceit. Yaakov was the essence of truth. And Yaakov's name was missing because he was saying, God, what Korach is doing is the antithesis of truth. And I don't want my name associated. No one should think that there's an element of truth in what's taking place with Korach, because it is not. Korach is blinded and he's not able to perceive the truth. The envy, it caused Korach to be oblivious to the truth. Well, if this happened to Korach, how could we possibly protect ourselves from our own desires, from our pursuit of honor, from our envy? How can we possibly assume that we can truly engage in that which is true? How do we know that what we're doing is true? B'nai Yissaschar says, we should ask ourselves a few simple questions. If we have a certain pursuit, sometimes we'll take a position. We know this is right, this is absolute, this has to be, this is a mitzvah. And we have such a fervor. Do we have the same enthusiasm in regard to other mitzvahs? Or perhaps there's something about this particular topic. And if that's the case, why don't I feel such a fervor towards all of Hashem's mitzvahs? Why is it that Korach was on the bandwagon of temple service? Why didn't he go around and say, let's talk about Shabbos, let's talk about Kashrus, let's talk about Yom Tov, let's talk about all the other mitzvahs? It was only this mitzvah that all of a sudden he became the spokesman for Klal Yisrael, the sanctity of Klal Yisrael. Person needs to ask ourselves a question: why? What is it about this particular mitzvah that all of a sudden I feel that I have to be the spokesman? I have to take a stand. I've got to challenge the sages. I'm going to tell the rabbis that they're wrong. I know best. I see the mitzvah. I know what humanitarian kindness is, and they don't understand. We have to ask ourselves, do you feel the same way for the rest of Hashem's mitzvahs? Because if we don't, that's a clear indication that something else is at play. Something else is going on. So what should a person do? What should we do if we see something and we think, I don't understand this. This doesn't appear right to me. What should Korach have done? Korach should have gone to Moshe Rabbeinu respectfully and humbly and said, Moshe Rabbeinu, please tell me why. What defect exists in my character and personality that I was not chosen to be the leader of the tribe of Levi? Tell me where I'm going wrong so I can correct it and improve. That's what Korach should have done. Tell me, Moshe, what is the defect of Klal Yisrael who appear to be so holy that we are denied the opportunity to perform the service? What is it that I failed to comprehend? That's how Korach should have made a presentation. This is what we should do today. Sometimes we see things and whatever, we don't understand them, and there are those who right away, well, the rabbis are wrong. They don't know. This isn't right. Now we're in the 21st century. Look at the technology we have. Oh, this is outdated, and we're going to put it aside. Unfortunately, this type of attitude is contrary to the truth, and it can blind us and lead us down an improper path. What should we do? On the contrary, we should seek out our sages, seek out our rabbis and say, could you explain to me, I failed to comprehend how this is the proper, why is this the proper way? What defect is there in my thought process, perhaps in my character, that I'm not able to understand this? That's how we should approach things. When Lavan chased after Yaakov, when Yaakov was fleeing for his life and welfare as God instructed him to do, to pick up and just leave and don't even tell Lavan that you're leaving. And Lavan came after him and pursued him without stop, and he confronts Yaakov. And he says, Yaakov, why did you run away? And you didn't let me kiss my daughters and my grandchildren. And why did you look as though you're a thief and everything? Yaakov could have answered Lavan and he could have torn him to shreds. What did Yaakov say? What did I do? What defect, what sin have you found in my character, my behavior, Lavan, that you should treat me this way? For those who wish to grow and seek and pursue the truth, first and foremost, rather than judge and criticize others, we should focus on ourselves. Korach was consumed with envy, and he came to destroy Moshe. And the result was he destroyed himself. We should never be afraid to realize that we are imperfect and we have flaws and there's room for improvement. And we should seize the great opportunity of seeking out the wisdom of our sages so that our lives could be more meaningful and we could achieve all that we desire. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay Jewish. Have a wonderful Shabbos.